The sixth stanza of Lycidas shows the narrator's disinterestedness and lack of inclination to pursue all those things he used to do with his fellow friend Lycidas, who is now dead. This stanza also meditates on fame and hard work and what exactly leads a person to do certain things, whether it is fame or self satisfaction. What is it that leads a person into doing many things? So, certain things are meditated upon by the poet. So, when the sixth stanza begins, the poet wonders what is the use of doing the shepherd's trade along with meditating the thankless muse anymore, because now his beloved friend Lycidas is gone. After the death of Lycidas, or without the presence of his friend Lycidas, the poet wonders what gain would it be to continue as a shepherd and to continue as a poet. Okay, so now that Lycidas is gone, he finds no interest in pursuing his occupation of being a shepherd as well as of being a poet. The thankless muse here shows the uninterested nature of poetry, because it is of no meaning for him to pursue all these things without his beloved friend Lycidas. He wonders whether it is better to play with the nymphs, spend time with the nymphs like Amaryllis or Nera, playing with their hair or having fun and amorous adventures with these female nymphs, whether it is better to do that than living as a shepherd and poet without his beloved friend Lycidas. So he finds that it is better to play with Amaryllis and Nera and such female nymphs and to make love with them, which is better than living a life of a shepherd and a poet without his beloved friend. Then, in the next few lines, the poet contemplates on what causes ambition in a person's mind. What is it that leads a person to do certain things and achieve certain goals in his life? And the famous lines appear here. Fame is the spur that the clear spirit doth raise, that last infirmity of noble mind, to scorn delights and live laborious days. So the poet meditates upon fame as the motivation for even noble people to shut away from all sorts of delights and joys of life and to work hard, to live laborious days, to work hard, toiling midnights to achieve their goals. For even for noble people, often it is fame and appreciation that leads them to do certain things. And fame is again given a definition here, that it is the last infirmity of noble minds. So, noble minds are usually considered to be lofty and perfect, and it is the only weakness. Fame and ambition for fame is the only weakness that you can find in noble and lofty minds. So, fame is something that even the noble people fall to, which is why they work so hard to achieve their goals. But then, when we struggle so hard and try to achieve that goal of ours, ambitious of fame and achieving popularity, it is suddenly then that somebody appears and cuts the thread of life. Who appears? The blind fury with the hated scissors appears and cuts the thin fabric of life. Now, fury with a capital F is the reference to the three fates in the Greek mythology. The three fates are three sisters, namely Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos, who are supposed to weave the fabric of life. And it is Atropos, one of the three fate sisters, who cuts the thread of life and leads a person to death. So it is this blind fury, Atropos, who comes with her hated scissors, because nobody likes the fury of Atropos because she cuts away one's life. So she appears and slits the thin spun life. Life is a very thin fabric, and it is cut by the blind sister of fury called Atropos. So the transience, the temporariness of life is being meditated over in these few lines. The poet contemplates that fame is often one of the goals with which we try to achieve so many things. We would like to achieve popularity and appreciation from many, so that we do a lot of things and to be to be at the top of the world. But in the middle of all those struggles and hard works, suddenly who appears? Fate appears. The fury, Atropos, appears and cuts away the thin fabric of life, meaning life ends so suddenly, and oftentimes we are not able to achieve our ambitions because we die midway. So now we connect these two thoughts. The first thought was the lack of passion that the poet feels after the death of his beloved friend, whether to continue the trade of being a poet and as a shepherd, or whether it is enough to go after girls and nymphs and to make love with them and have amorous adventures with them, whether it is enough. Now, we already know that being a poet, being a creative artist is very noble and uh, hard find and very hard to achieve compared to people who play on amorous adventures. But then the second thought is about fame and what motivates a person to do a lot of hard works. So when we connect to these things, we understand that the poet is thinking and wondering about the futility of life. Why should I do certain things if I am going to face the same fate as my dear friend Lycidas, who died of a very young age all of a sudden without achieving his dreams? So, in this confusion and questioning and existential questioning, why to live? Why do I have to do certain things? Because if I'm going to die quickly, then what is the point of doing all these things? So, amidst this confusion, the poet says that Phoebus, the god of poetry, appears and talks to him, touching his trembling ears. Okay, touching trembling ears means reminding somebody of something that he has forgotten. So, Phoebus, the god of poetry, appears and reminds the poet that no, no, whatever you have said is right, but you have forgotten something. If death appears and cuts your life all on a sudden, while you were midway working hard towards your ambition and dreams of achieving popularity and fame, something is not lost, not the praise. Phoebus says that fame is no plant that grows on mortal soil. So, Phoebus reminds the poet that fame is immortal. True fame and perfection is not mortal. It does not deserve to live on this earthly world of death, pain, and suffering. It deserves to lie in heaven. So, Phoebus reminds him that fame and perfection is too difficult for mortal people to achieve. So, such people who strive to achieve perfection and lofty and noble ideals deserve to be along with God, the old judging Job or Jupiter, and it is God who actually weighs upon the merit of everybody's deeds. Whether this deed deserves to be immortal or mortal, it is up to Jove or God to decide. So even if the poet's friend Lycidas has died without achieving the fame that he deserved to, Phoebus consoles the poet that perfect witnesses of all judging Jove is what perfect people become. So much fame in heaven will be deserved by such people, and God will certainly weigh such people's deeds, even if they pass away so quickly without achieving the amount of fame and popularity that while they had actually lived on this earth. So, in short, this long stanza meditates upon the futility of life and hard works, the struggles that a person undergoes in order to achieve fame and popularity and his destiny. But at the same time, at the same time, the poet also consoles himself that people who are cut away from their journey on the earth by the blind fury sister of Atropos, they reach heaven and stay as witnesses to God.